Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
We are into episode 19, James. The first time we have a correspondent week that I am trebled up in. Do you want to introduce our correspondent?
So am I at the moment. Let me introduce you to Dan Lord, our Liverpool correspondent. How are you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you guys?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, mate. Nearly at the end. I've hit a mental block wall now, so I might just go on tangents as I do. Where should we start with Liverpool? No signings. Well, there has been one. Canate at centre back.
Yeah.
It was so long ago; it doesn't feel like you bought anyone.
I don't know, and it might stay that way. Who knows?
Do you think there's a reason for that? We kind of speculated on FSG and perhaps not backing Klopp in the past. Is that what you think is happening? Because I'm thinking of this Wijnaldum-shaped hole. And look, if everybody's fit, Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago is a laughably good midfield three. But you don't want the problems you had last year, mate.
What you hear coming out of like LFC, the channel and things like that, is that Klopp and his coaches have said they don't want to go into the market for anybody who's not going to improve the kind of, challenge the first team players. And I think he's probably thinking the same old thing with, can Keita stay fit for the year? If Naby does, then that's a good start, isn't it? Yeah. Curtis Jones, he's got to step up now. He's no longer a youngster.
Yeah.
And like you say, but there's still no depth. You'd have hoped they'd have learned from last season with what happened at the centre-half position. That could easily happen again in centre midfield.
But and there is, isn't there? Because that's it. I mean, exactly what you said there. Naby Keita, and I went, yep. And I know he's been playing in pre-season, and I think the game against Hertha Berlin, I was reading that he played particularly well in. You've got Oxlade-Chamberlain, who I haven't mentioned. You've still got James Milner on the books.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did you mention? And young Curtis Jones. You got Harvey Elliott's coming back to be amongst the squad this year. I know it wouldn't play in one of those positions. You've got cover up front with Jotter, Mane, Salah, Firmino. Origi understands going to be let go, and possibly Shaqiri. So it might mean one more in up front. Defensively, if they're all fit, you've got 5 centre backs now. I think we have to include Nat Phillips as part of the first team squad now, although probably the 5th choice. The big man's back at the back. Just don't have the depth. And it's the same conversation as last year. This time last year, we were talking about the depth in the fullback areas being a concern. And actually, that's still the weak point.
Yeah, particularly right back. I think Tsimikas, he's done well pre-season. I think there's still kind of hope for him to step up. I don't think last season was the time with losing the centre halves. I don't think they wanted to integrate him into the team at left back with the way they were structured anyway. I think he'll probably get more game time, particularly in the cups and stuff this time round, and see how he fares. And on the right is still an issue. I don't think Nico Williams is good enough. And then you're just left with Trent, really. And then, if something happened to one of them, then Milner is your backup again, isn't it?
James Milner.
I mean? This is the issue with Liverpool, that, the 1 to 11 is as good as anybody in the league. But once you go into depth, you just can't compare with the likes of City and, even United to a certain extent. And obviously Chelsea, they've got a massive squad. We just don't have that depth.
Is Nico Williams not good enough, full stop, or he's not good enough yet?
I think the jury's out still for me. He's shown flashes. And you would like to say he needs to see more game time, but I don't think he will while Trent's fit. He's still young himself. So when is he going to get that game time? It's a difficult one, really, with Nico Williams. He plays more for Wales than he does for Liverpool, I think.
This week, probably 50% of the Correspondent Week podcast, James has been trying to flog his right back. So, James, do you want to have a go? If they need backup at right back, he's going to try and sell them. He's trying to sell Doherty and Aurier to anybody that's got a right back problem. And Dan's just mentioned that he's only got one in Trent. So, yeah. James, off you go.
I'll do you either for 2.5 million if you want, Dan. You fancy it?
Oh, dear.
No. Yeah. Big man, Van Dijk back. How big?
Massive, obviously. I think it's going to take him a bit of time. I don't think he'll be straight in game week 1. He definitely looks rusty. He looks, from the pre-season highlights I've seen, a little bit anxious. You know, it's a lot of weight on top of that knee, isn't it? It's not a 5'4", Shaqiri or something coming back from a knee injury. You know, he's an absolute monster. He's looked a bit cagey a few times. I watched the game today. He played 2 60-minute games against Bologna. So the first game he played the first half and the second 10 minutes or something, about 40 minutes. Obviously, he played about 20 minutes against Hertha Berlin. So they're just easing him in gently. So hopefully, as long as they do that slowly and there's no repercussions, then I think after a couple of game weeks, he's probably there and he's back in and we're looking a lot more solid. Then Gomez becomes the issue, whereas I think they're a little bit more concerned about him taking a bit longer to get up to speed than Virgil.
Who do you think plays centre back at Norwich game week 1?
Probably Matip and Konate, I would have thought. The way pre-season's shaping at the moment, that looks like the likely pairing, I would have thought.
Do you think those opening couple of games lend into the no rushing Van Dijk? Like, I mean, if you're in a good position at Norwich, for example, and he's sitting on the bench, you could give him the last half hour and that sort of thing.
Yeah, potentially. I think just more training as well. Obviously, the match fitness will take a bit of time as well, but the on paper, the easier fixtures make you think that you wouldn't have to rush them back. But then we've got I think Burnley's second game or third game. That's a physical encounter, won't it? So, but Konate's a beast as well. You know, he towers he towers above the others apart from Virgil. So, but I was watching some training the other day, and they said that Konate, as fit as he is still a bit behind the Liverpool lads because they're so fit generally. You know, when they've been doing a lot of the track work and stuff like that, he's like last in of the laps around the track, however many they need to do and stuff like that. He's been last in, and so I think he's going to take a little bit of time as well. It's a bit of a wait and see, I think, for the first few games. Apart from the fullback areas, then that's nailed on who they are.
Yeah, obviously Trent and Robbo will play at fullback. What would you make of Konate? Have you had a chance to see him yet?
Only in bits, not a great deal. Again, a little bit at Red Bull. I saw a couple of games when he was at Leipzig. I don't know. It's a wait and see for me a little bit. I can't really say that much about him when I haven't seen enough of him.
The team picks itself when everyone's fit. Really, bar who will perhaps be Van Dijk's partner. Can Keita push on? And where does Jotter play? What do you see Diogo Jota's role in the team being this year?
I think very similar to last year. I think a couple of the pre-season games I've seen him play with Bobby only just getting back, Firmino only just getting back last couple of games. Earlier this week, the Brazilian lads came back from Copa America, so he's played down the middle, whereas sometimes you'd have thought maybe he's played on the right or on the left, and Salah down the middle. Salah stayed on the right. He's been down the middle, and I think he'll start at Norwich down the middle. I don't think Firmino will start for a couple of games. Same kind of story, really, and they're a little bit behind in fitness. I know the fit lads anyway. You know, they're all professionals, and they've only had 3 weeks off since the Copa America, so I can't. Maybe they might have to rush Fabinho back, but I think Alisson, obviously, it's a keeper, so it's a little bit different. But I can't see Firmino starting the first few, and then the space is Jota's to lose, I suppose. If he starts on fire, then Klopp's got to ask himself, does Firmino come straight back in once he's up to speed, or is it then a more rotation? I don't know. I mean, or they could against the lower teams like they did last season. Maybe play him like just behind, so still stick with Firmino as the focal point in the centre, and a 3 in midfield, maybe Fabinho, Henderson, or Fabinho and Thiago, and Jota just in front. That could be an option, but we've not had any pre-season games to to have all the squad back to actually tinker with that, if that's in Klopp's mind. So it's a wait and see, I think.
You're a big Firmino fan, aren't you? But you were quite disappointed with him last season.
I'm disappointed with a lot of them, to be honest. The level dropped off. I mean, you know, they've just played so well for the last kind of 2.5 years that it was inevitable. They couldn't keep up them kind of performances week in, week out. I still love Firmino. I think he's a fantastic player. FPL wise, they keep well away from him. You know what I mean, for the price tag he brings. But I still think he's a fantastic player, and he can do things that no other player in the Premier League can do. Never mind no other player in the Liverpool squad. You know what I mean? He's almost a little bit like Bergkamp-esque, I would say, in his kind of.
I'd close your DMs. I'd close your DMs, Dan. You know what Gooners are like.
No, but you know what I mean. He's got that creativity, that extra little, X factor of creativity, that that little bit of cheekiness and just different quality that other players don't see or can't do.
Yeah, invariably you have a few games without him, and then we remember it was better with him. That's normally how it tends to pan out with Roberto Firmino. Actually, it feels like, I don't know if you feel like this, Suj, but when the prices came out, there was quite a bit of hype about Jotter within the FPL community. And I don't feel like I see many people mention him now. I don't. People just swung by transfer moves elsewhere and stuff.
I think budget is an issue. I don't see many people with £7.5 or £8 million midfielders. I see plenty with 1 or 2 that are 12.5 in Salah, Fernandez, Son, and then a lot of 6.5, 6, 5.5, and stretching to that Mason Mount price or Jota price. Not many who have a spot for a midfielder at that level. Now, with Ings going to Villa, maybe people might downgrade Watkins and then use that extra 1 or 2 million to upgrade someone to a Jota. The other thing is with Mane, as much as no one's going to go with Mane because of the differential with Salah, most of us would expect him to bounce back and have a better season than he did last season. So then if it's Mane, Firmino, Salah, Jota gets dropped to the bench, such is life, but he can still do damage off the bench, which I saw last year firsthand. So, he just doesn't fit into my squad structure. I don't have any problem with his price. Don't have any problem with him, but it just doesn't fit into my squad structure. And I'm punting so much of my budget into Liverpool already. 7, 7.5, 12.5. That's 27 million of my 100 million is going into 3 Liverpool players at the moment. It's incredible.
Who's in for you at the moment, Dan?
I'll have to confess, mate. I've not even looked at it. I've done an autocomplete.
Yes.
Autocomplete and not even checked. And actually, I looked at it just before we kicked off because I thought you'd ask that. No one went in there on the autocomplete. And I've got Cavani as captain and Nick Pope as vice captain. And I've got Lingard somehow and Sigurdsson, which is...
oh, no. Move on.
But... in answer to your question, it's likely to be very similar to Suj, I would have thought.
Yeah, Salah,
the same
because of the ownership and the captaincy coverage for the first couple of weeks, I can't swing against Salah. It's just too many people own him and too many people are going to captain him. And when I look at Trent and Robbo, other than that, defensively, you were shit last year for so long. And other than Dallas, there was still the 2 top scoring mid defenders in the game. And Van Dijk's coming back. And I just think they're going to be better this year. And so I can't swing against them. I just look at that and think 160 plus points with Liverpool, with the greatest respect, being crap for a massive period of the season defensively. They're 200-point players. I've got to keep them in. So I'm happy to start with both of them. And Salah, you'd be mad to go against. And then your Liverpool spots are tied up all of a sudden.
I think...
go on, Dan.
Yeah, I think I'll probably do the same. I may use drop Robertson and bring Jotter in for the first few, depending on if it seems like Van Dijk's coming back or not. I think once he's back, they'll be better defensively, but I might just have a punt because I think that Jotter may start the first couple of games as centre forward, and I think it might be a nice little starter. You know, if you're saying not many people are talking about him as well, then there's that extra differential there.
I just feel like it's eased off. And listen, we have to remember that the FPL community is a very small proportion of what players are actually doing. I just feel like at the start, there was a lot of talk about it. On Content Creator Week, with a few of the guys, Suj, we had exactly that debate, didn't we? Jotter versus Robertson. And when we kind of drilled into it, we were all fairly convinced, the majority of us, that Robertson would outscore Jota over the course of the season. Doesn't mean you can't start with Jota, exactly as Dan's just said. I'm definitely Trent, definitely Salah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet on Robertson. He's in at the moment, but I'm not sure. I just wonder what I can do with the money. And but I don't. Jota won't be for me, I don't think, unless Dan can really talk me into it. But as he's only just logged into the website, I doubt it.
Well, I mean,
I think he's a brilliant option, Jota. I think he's just. I wasn't convinced of him at Wolves, and Bradley, the Wolves correspondent, kept saying how good he was, and I'd never really seen it. And he's just one of them players. He's just got an eye for goal. He's in the right place at the right time. He's even good in the air, considering he's not the tallest.
He's quite an aggressive player, not aggressive in a negative way, but aggressive in he plays with real intent.
Yeah, he does. He puts himself about, definitely. He'll put his foot in, and he'll break up play. You know, he'll push from the front like they'll want him to. I think he's really, if he started 30 games a season, which he's not going to do, we know that, he'd be my first choice, I would have thought, ahead of Salah. But the problem is it's game time, isn't it? You know what I mean? But I'm quietly confident he'll probably play the first couple. That's why I might go with him over Robertson to kick off.
Can you make any case for Mane over Salah?
No, not for that price. They've shot themselves in the foot, I think, FPL a little bit with that, haven't they? You know, he's historically done better every single season as Salah, and sometimes quite considerably. And it's 0.5 in it. It's, you know, Mane would have to have his best season ever, and Salah is worse to actually outscore him. I think, unless, you know, Salah gets injured or something, then he becomes an option, doesn't he? But while they're both there, I don't think so.
I mean, we talk nearly every year about Firmino's price, and I do get it because he's playing for a side that's been predominantly top two for the majority of the last few years, and he's playing centre forward. I do get why suddenly he could have a 20-goal season as a 7.5 forward or something, and then they would instantly regret it. But Mane's arguably the worst priced player in the game. And again, it doesn't mean, if you want to be differential and go against Mo Salah in the first 2 game weeks, I don't have a problem if someone wants to do that and go Mane. And if you believe Mane's a better shout than Salah, it's a mistake I've made in the past and regretted it. I don't particularly have a problem with it. I think from a pricing perspective, it would have been so good if they went Mane. Do you know what? And what we saw last year, Son's 10, we'll make Mane 10. Because it's almost like they've just diverted everyone to say, actually, we want the majority of this game to own Mo Salah. It's almost what they said to everyone.
Is Son 10?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Then Son's a no-brainer over Mane. If anyone's putting Mane in over Son, then
I don't think anyone's doing that, Dan. In fairness, Mane's about 3% owned. So
is he? Well, for that reason, it's just stupid. I bet there's loads. He must be one of the highest priced players in the game. I think he's only broke 200 points once, hasn't he?
I think, James, you're probably expecting Liverpool to be a bit too generous. 10 million is Son, and with the greatest respect, playing at Spurs. I think it's more comparable to Sterling, who had 200 and something point seasons and then dropped off last year, and he's come in at 11. And I think Liverpool attack and City attack is more comparable than maybe Spurs. And I'm sure they've got a bit of doubt in the back of their minds about whether or not Harry Kane's there or not for Son.
Even if they've done that, because there will no doubt at some point this season, there will be a debate, even at the prices. Someone will pull out some numbers and stuff and make a strong case for Mane over Salah, or Mane will have a little streak. At some point that'll happen. Mane will score 4 in 3 games and Salah won't score, for example. At some point in the season, that'll probably happen, and someone will make a strong case for it. I agree. I think 11, we could have had a debate, but I think even at 11 million, so you still had the same result.
Probably, yeah. People would
have gone for Salah.
People wouldn't go with it.
If you want to make a case for it, Mane scored, I think, 2 or 3 in pre-season. Salah's not scored yet.
Thanks, Dan. Cue music, please, man. I think that's the intro sorted anyway.
Yeah.
No, it's very difficult to make the case for Mane.
Yeah,
the only people I can see starting with Sadio Mane is people actually going, I'm almost going to dead captain Salah, and I'm going Salah and Mane.
You're the two.
Yeah.
That's enough. We've done that in the past. I feel like that's too much investment at the moment, even with Liverpool strong fixtures. And again, because of Jota's price, it's not like Jota's 10 million, and you're going, well, I think you're saving what 4.5 million by going Jota over Mane. I can't see. They've almost just made Mane like a non-choice in the game. It's a shame because I think on Scout's prediction tool, they have Mane tipped to be the 4th highest scoring player. And he probably should be at the price he is, right? But he's still not. You're not going to pick him over Salah unless that pre-season form became a very serious thing, Dan, and we landed in sort of game week 5 or something, and Salah's got 1 goal and Mane's got 5 or 6, and then maybe the form's changed. But then all I would think, as you often say, Dan, don't jump between the two of them.
But all that happened is Salah will drop down to like 12-2, 12-3. Mane will come up to 12-2, 12-3, and suddenly it really is a sideways financial move as well.
I can't see it. I can't make a case for it. I was joking about the goals, and actually the 2 pre-season goals, one of them was bundled in from about 6 yards, and the other one, it was a defensive error where he had one-on-one with the keeper, where he rounded the keeper, and so it wasn't any spectacular goals or anything. I just said, he's stupid, like you say. It's not giving you a choice to make. A lot of casuals might, but I think people who know the game and understand, structures of the pricing and stuff like that will just keep well away, unless, like you said, they had a punt for the first couple of games and doubled up on them, hoping they're going to put 4 or 5 past Norwich and a decent score against Burnley or something. But it's a bit risky, isn't it?
What would be an interesting debate, and I don't know what you feel about this, Dan, but if Joel Matip solidified his place as Van Dijk's regular partner again at 5 million, that
for about 3 games until he gets injured.
I know, I've been down this route. He did all right for me in Sky last year for a little bit, and then I went back.
A little bit.
All right, no, a few good game weeks. The problem is I then went back for him, forgetting that, he's a fucking injury magnet. But if he could keep himself fit, 5 million, that's what I'm talking about. Then you have that debate and go, well, okay, we know Matip's not going to match Robertson, for example, or even Van Dijk. But if you're saving 2 million or 1.5 million and what else you can do with it, then there's a debate, unlike kind of this Mane one. I know it's difficult because you haven't seen too much of Konate for Liverpool, but what are you anticipating to be Van Dijk's primary partner this year?
I don't know. I still think Gomez. I think they favour Gomez over the other ones. But with the injuries, you're not going to put 2 players who are trying to get match fit together, are you? Until they've both kind of got there. But then, I don't know. I don't think Matip was always cover. I think, but he's done really, really well ever since he's come in. He's not had a bad game for us, touch wood. But he just can't stay fit. He can't play 3 matches in 2 weeks. He can't. He's just made a Weetabix or something. I don't know what's going on with
it. Correspondents love making people into food, don't they?
Well, him and Navi. I mean, Keita, like, he's got all the attributes. When you watch him, he's good with the ball. He's good at closing down. He's not afraid to put a tackle in. He's both-footed. He can speed up the play. He can slow it down. But he can't stay fit. And everyone's like, he's well liked by a lot of the fan base. And for me, I've almost like, I don't think of him as a Liverpool player anymore, because I just know he's going to get 2 or 3 games out of him, and then he's going to be injured for 7 or 8.
Yeah, it's mad. We're about to go into year 4 of him. Year 4, and he's played 2,500 minutes. It's not even close to a full season. Nowhere near it. Insert everything I said about Joel Matip and delete his name and put Joe Gomez in place, because he's the same price. And it's that makes me. It's another thing to add to my thinking. I'm in 2 minds, because I think most of us probably want treble Liverpool at the start with the fixtures. Norwich, Burnley, Palace, Brentford. 4 of the first 6 looks great. Chelsea at home, Leeds away, the other 2 fixtures. But I'm also part thinking, if that becomes available, Joe Gomez, it's Robertson I've got to get rid of, for example, probably. And I'm not sure once I'm there if I'm going to be comfortable doing that and making that sideways switch. So it might be I might just go Trent and Salah. Problem is, I know with that, I know I'm losing.
No, not necessarily. And the thing is, I've played this game for about, I think this is my 5th season now, seriously. And you could literally go without Salah all season, even if he scored 270 points and still win it. You know what I mean? It's, you can have players, you can miss the bottom players, you can have not players for all season, and you'll still do all right. I wouldn't think like that. Me, I just think there's always someone who's going to have great game weeks, but it'll balance itself out eventually. No one's going to pick the best 11 players, predominantly for the season. Otherwise, you'd probably be on about 3,500, 4,000 points if you did that. Going back to your other point, if it was one of the three, Konate, Gomez, or Matip, and you knew what Matip all day long, he offers a threat as well from set pieces.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned him.
Particularly with Van Dijk, because obviously Van Dijk's kind of double, triple marked a lot of the time. They're blocking his run, and everyone forgets about 6'6" Matip, who's gangling about somewhere in the box, and he generally gets his head in somehow.
The only person this week that's kind of tried to talk me out of double Liverpool defence, and I say talk me out very loosely, was our Norwich correspondent, Mark. And that's because he said Norwich are going to score in the first game. I thought about it for about 2 or 3 minutes and literally...
And then went, you're wrong, Mark.
Yeah, I can't see it. I just can't... I can't see it. I just can't
why
see
not?
it. They could score, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't put me off keeping Robertson, because once he's in, I'm going to keep him for a while. My problem at the moment is I have no money left in the bank, and it's the other players that I have, because so much money's in the Liverpool players. There's not really a lot of space I can go to free up budget. So, right, James is saying Robertson is the one that I could downgrade and free me up 2 or 2.5 million, and it might end up being that case, but it's hard to sell him.
The thing is with Trent and Robbo, it's like, and even the brilliant 1920 season, how many games in a row did Liverpool have between sort of August and October where they conceded 1 goal with 10 minutes to go? Like over and over again. I remember when Newcastle scored a goal at Anfield, Jestro Williams scored a bit of a weldy after about 3 minutes. And it was like a shock. I'm like, oh, there goes my treble clean sheet. I normally have this for 75 minutes. What do I do now? I don't, and I still don't, even with, if Van Dijk comes back to his absolute best, the way Liverpool play, I don't actually have as much trust in Liverpool to physically keep clean sheets as I do as perhaps if Chelsea, United or City go in a more defensive, City not so much, but a more defensive system. I would trust them more, those clubs, not to give away the stupid goal with 20 minutes to go or something like that. But then that's not why we have Trent or Robbo. I see it every year and say to people, don't even think as Trent as a defender. If you're playing 3-4-3, you're playing 2-5-3, the formation that's not allowed. And think of the clean sheet as the bonus, because the attacking returns will come. Wasn't he the highest scoring player in the game from game week 20 onwards? It's mental.
Let's face it, they had poor seasons as well last year, and they were still decent scoring without the clean sheets. But they could have had more potentially. Watching Liverpool, you see a game and Trent comes away with nothing, or Robertson comes away with nothing, and both of them could have easily had a goal and a couple of assists
every game.
So that they're all. The good thing about them, I suppose, when you compare them to the other top teams, particularly Chelsea and City, is they're nailed on. Whereas City, you don't know who's playing fullback. With Chelsea, you don't know who's playing fullback. Is it going to be James, Aspilicueta, Chilwell, not Alonso anymore? But you know what I mean? There's always that debate. Whereas with Liverpool, Trent and Robertson are there every game. So,
any debate for you, Dan, on which one?
I'd always go Trent. I think he just offers so much more. With his set pieces, his delivery, and yeah, I think for the 0.5 difference, it's worth it.
Do you think there's any chance that Robertson might play a bit more cautiously this season because of Van Dijk to start with, to ease him back in, to make sure that balls aren't getting thumped into the channel and Van Dijk's getting pulled out into left back positions?
Possibly. I can see it. Like I said, I think he's going to take a little bit longer to get up to speed, so they may do that early days. first couple of games, and until he feels comfortable in his confident in himself and comfortable himself, like I've never had a bad injury like that, but I suppose it kind of plays on your mind a little bit, doesn't it? Like if I do the wrong movement or something like that, or I suppose you can't.
I
think
don't know.
like
It's a mental thing, and everyone will be different, right?
Yeah, but I've just seen him a couple of times and think, oh, he turned a bit slow there. I know he's not match fit, but like just the highlights of today, there was a ball played kind of cross field and then cross field again, and he was like the last into the back four. The last to get up to speed to the back four, and he's usually the one there getting everyone in line with him. And he's just off the pace a little bit, and I think it's going to take him a bit to get there. That's why I'm thinking Jotter over Robertson early doors.
Yeah, plenty to think about. I think it's a real shame that from an FPL perspective, Van Dijk's probably going to be too much of a risk to start with, actually, because he's part of the debate at 6.5. I mean, if you look at his 2 seasons, 178 points and 208 points, 6.5 defender. I mean, you're averaging that sort of 190-ish or so there. It's absolutely worth it, isn't it? And actually, his returns are probably more consistent to read than Robertson's that might fluctuate. You might have a 7-8 game spell with no attacking returns or something, and then have an off one. Van Dijk, you can look at and go, yeah, he's going to get me 6 or 7 attacking returns for the season, and I'm probably going to get 13 or 14 clean sheets, something like that. And you know what you get, and you just leave it.
I think we want him a bit more for Sky, really, because he was so good a couple of years back in that game. Post game week 3, though, you'd think by overall we'll be settled. So BVD in both games, maybe.
Oh, once he's fit, he's
straight in.
Wouldn't even worry about Van Dijk's fixtures for Liverpool in that particular format of game. We would just pay it and get him in, unless his partner, a little bit like with FPL, unless his partner becomes obvious. Yeah. And I think Matip again would be the interesting one if he wasn't made a Weetabix, because he'll get attacking returns as well.
Yeah. No,
do you
absolutely. Think... I mean, I may be completely wrong. I just don't think Van Dijk will be thrown straight back into the mix. I think he'll be eased back.
Do you think? I think I'm right in saying that Konate, Matip, and Gomez, I mean, they're all right-sided centre backs. Van Dijk will definitely be the left-sided. I think Gomez could probably play to the left side, and I think he played a few games last year, obviously without Van Dijk, and he probably played left-sided centre back. Do you think another option to protect Van Dijk when he comes back could be something we've not seen under Klopp, to my knowledge, which is a back three?
Nah, I think you'd have seen it pre-season if he was thinking about it. They've had some weird pre-season matches, just 30-minute matches, a couple of 90-minute matches, and today a couple of 60-minute matches. And I've not seen it once in any of them games with the highlights of the full matches I've seen. It would be a bit of a shock to just kind of do it unless he's doing it all on the training ground, but you'd want to practice it as a match thing.
Yeah, you would think so.
You've got Fabinho in there, right? And Fabinho played centre-back. If you really wanted to be a little bit more solid, you just tell him to sit in a little bit more and offer more protection rather than charge around the pitch a little bit more. It's not really a back three, but it's a player that can play at centre-back right in front of the back two.
Yeah, all the midfield. I mean, you'll even see Curtis Jones does it really well for Liverpool when he plays on the left side position to let Robertson go. Always drops into left back position, and then Robertson can go high up the pitch. He's actually arguably him and Henderson. Jones does it really well on the left, and Henderson does it really well on the right, which really frees the two fullbacks obviously to go on. I was just thinking from a perspective in a 3-man centre back partnership. He could obviously play like an old-fashioned sweeper and let the other two, be it Gomez and Matip or Konate, go and be aggressive and press into it and know that he's never isolated one-on-one because he's always got a partner with him to one side or the other. That was the only thing. But I think Dan's spot on. And if you think back to the pod we did on Dortmund last year about that key Klopp quote that you can't really coach during the season, it's all done in pre-season.
Yep.
Which I don't know how that works when you've got some players who don't even report back from international tournaments till a week before the season starts. But
some don't even report back, James.
I wonder if I get through episode 20 without it coming up. But it would then be a stunning move if he did implement that. But when you think of the two fullbacks and the way Liverpool play, I've said to you before, I always Robertson definitely wing back, no probs. Trent, I wouldn't be so convinced about actually, but definitely Liverpool could have the personnel that could play that system. If you had two of Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson, and then the front three in front of that, and it becomes a 3-4-3, similar to kind of system-wise how Chelsea play, because Liverpool's wide players like to come into central areas anyway, so it would be nothing new to them. It could work, but as you said, I don't think he'd try it. I'm just looking for solutions in terms of protection Van Dijk. And the more I talk, I think I'm talking myself out of Andrew Robertson.
No, it's interesting that you say that. It could be a switch up, but you know, like I said, I haven't seen it in pre-season. I don't think it's something he's thinking about. He kind of gets set on the system, doesn't it, Klopp, and sticks to it and trains in that system a lot just to get it to perfection as much as you possibly can. All the players know it. They do it through the academy, through the other teams. It's all the same system through the team, so that when they do make the step up, or if they make the step up, they know exactly what's needed of them in them positions. I don't know. I don't know what will happen. I don't think Van Dijk will be back. Gomez, to answer your question you threw before with Gomez has played a couple of games at the left side of centre back in pre-season, and the game that was just on at 5 o'clock, he was left and Konate was right in the second 60-minute game against Bologna.
Okay, we'll clarify that. Stan commented on Thursday, just in case you do decide to blow money on Lionel Messi between us recording this podcast and it getting released on Sunday lunchtime. Thoughts, Suj?
Sticking with what I've got, I think I'm gonna. I've said it a number of times this week. I'm loyal to players that have served me well and hold a grudge against players that haven't in FPL. And Robertson has served me well in the past. I think I'm going to go in with Liverpool for the first.
I don't think I can bear to do the podcast with you knowing you've got him and I haven't. Like, honestly, I think it will. Yeah. I remember the night Trent went off at Leicester 18 months or so ago when he got the 3 assists and the goal, didn't he, in the 4-0 win. And I'd wildcarded and I'd planned to have, it was some United coverage for 2 games and then bring Robertson back. And I didn't have Robertson that night against Leicester. And it got completely overshadowed because Trent went off. But I watched the whole game in pain, watching Andrew Robertson bomb on, thinking, oh my God, I can't live without this player in my team. And there's a fair chance I don't start with him, and game week 1, I'm going to be doing that. And I don't get bothered watching other players I don't own and stuff. He's a player that bothers me when I don't own him.
You said something earlier in this show, James, where you said, do you think Robertson can sit in a little bit to offer Van Dijk more protection? And I'm just thinking in my mind, I don't think he can. I don't think he knows how.
No, I disagree with that.
He's just always so far forward, and he's just so attacking.
Van Dijk will definitely be the left-sided centre-back when he plays. Yep. Zero doubt about it. But actually, ironically, if he was the right-sided centre-back, then it wouldn't be much changes because Trent starts from such deeper positions, whereas Robertson just cannot wait to get forward. The idea that he can't do that, I completely disagree. Like, I honestly think if Liverpool went to a back 3 and for whatever reason Schmikas decided he was going to become the best wing back in the world, like, I think Robertson could play left-sided centre back. I don't think it would be a problem. So I think he can, and I think he'll be. There's got to be a little bit of consciousness of protecting, because the thing is as well, it's we spoke about the mentality, things like tackles, turning on the ball. You don't want him mentally to be struggling, because if he's mentally struggling, everybody else around him is going to struggle because they look up to him so much because of how bloody good he is. So there's got to be, even psychologically, they've got to be thinking, we've got to protect this guy. Even though if he comes back to his best, he obviously doesn't need protecting, because he's still, in my opinion, the best at what he does. But it could be that Robertson does put the brakes on a little bit. We're not going to bloody know till next Saturday, are we? And it's too late. No. Actually, we won't, because Van Dijk probably won't play game week 1. So we probably won't know till, I guess, Chelsea or Leeds.
Yeah.
In 3 or 4.
Yeah, with what Suj said before, going back to that, he definitely can put the brakes on, and it doesn't seem like it because he's such an attacking footballer, but he did it a lot last year when Reece Williams was there. You could see that he wasn't going because he wanted to offer that little bit of defensive support to the young lad, when they played, and he did it for the last half of the season really. But
I think he suffered from it as well, personally.
Yeah, no,
Robertson,
he definitely did. You saw it. You could see a difference the last 4 or 5 games. when most people were getting back fit, and the centre backs had settled with generally Nat Phillips and Kabak. He kind of he did push on a little bit, and Trent's performances got better as well. And I think they just started to get comfortable with like the same centre half because they had so long of different centre half pairings. That it was just so unsettled, and I think they were asked to defend a lot more than they're used to doing because of that, and that only makes them more appealing this year. I think once everyone's back in the mix.
Yeah, I agree. Once we're all up to speed. Before we let you go, Dan, a couple of questions. One, what's it like to see your goalkeeper score a 95th minute winner?
Brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, I love that. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke, especially the season he'd had with death of his dad and stuff like that. It was brilliant. Yeah, brought a tear to my eye.
I thought you meant he couldn't have Sam Allardyce. I thought you was talking about. It's like, oh, fuck Big Sam. Sorry. Yeah, no, it was an emotional story as well. I mean, like everybody when that happened was, oh my God, what have I just seen? Because we often say as well, okay, it does happen a couple of times, but it's normally an equaliser if it does happen, right? You need some weird circumstances to come together for a goalkeeper to be going up at 1-1, right? So that was incredible. And where do you think you finish?
First or second.
Woo!
And if you're second, who first?
City. I still think it's a 2-horse race, like I did last season. Obviously, with the circumstances of the injuries, I think we only finished 6 points behind United in the end, and we limped over the line eventually. I say that now. If we have injuries again, it just goes to show what can happen. You can slide down, but saying that, it could happen to City, it could happen to United, Chelsea. But I think if we predominantly the main players stay fit, I don't see any reason why we're not good enough to win it or finish second.
You're definitely good enough. There's not a doubt about that. And I think it's growing for Chelsea United as well. I think I'm the same. I still think it'll be one of the two. For Liverpool to win it again, psychologically, I think things have got to go right at the start of the season. Like exactly what you said, that run at the end of the season, the kind of 5-6 wins on a bounce, even though some of them like West Brom were a bit depressing till the end, job done, get the games won, etc. Johnny Pringle made a brilliant comment on episode 1 about your title winning year and described it as City taking a year off. And he also suggested that you might have just had your year off.
Yeah,
ready to go again.
I think I don't think it was a year off we wanted, but actually it's played into our hands to have that a little bit. And we can go again if any of the top, like I say, City, United, Chelsea, Liverpool, I think are the top 4, aren't they? They're pretty much set, I would have thought. If any of them underestimate Liverpool, then I think it's a mistake because, on paper, I'd take our first 11 over any of the others. It's just the depth we struggle with.
Wouldn't it be brilliant if we could have a proper free team, proper title race or something?
Yeah.
The problem is it's just competing with City in it depth-wise. You know what I mean? If they go out and they just bought Grealish, say they get Kane as well, and then who do we play? Do we play Sterling? Do we play Grealish? Do we play Foden? Do we play Bernardo Silva?
Dan, stop it! You make yourself ill, mate. Stop it.
Don't worry, Chelsea are not buying anyone.
Isn't it?
Chelsea are not buying anyone other than Lukaku, and United have already picked up Jadon Sancho and Varane. I'm afraid I think 3rd or 4th for Liverpool. I just see Chelsea in the top 2 with City. If you had to put a number on it, I think it's going to be 3rd or 4th. More than likely 3rd, with United slipping into 4th. But if Rafa Varane really gives them some defensive solidity at United, then I think they could go pretty close as well. So I just think this season across the board is looking like it's going to be one of the best for a while, because everybody is looking like they've got strong squads and can put in a challenge. But for me, I think third or fourth for Liverpool this year, behind City and Chelsea.
What do you want him to say to that? Cheers, Suj.
No, nothing. I just think it's. But again, right? We talked to Gary, United correspondent, about the difference between them and City last year, and James went off and rattled off 3 or 4 games they should have won that they threw away that were stupid.
Look at that.
And then they're in with 1 or 2 points. I think the points total between the 4 teams is going to be 2 or 3 stupid results that teams should have won that didn't. 6 points to 9 points separating 3 or 4 teams at the top there wouldn't surprise me. And then it comes down to consistency. It's going to be difficult. For sure.
I think summer off will benefit quite a few players from that squad.
For sure.
One thing to note, it is interesting as well, and I'm not looked in terms of what sort of fixtures you got then, but and we haven't mentioned it all week, is obviously an African Nations Cup year. And negotiating that period would be quite important, but I don't think you need to worry about that just yet, mate. I think
it's definitely a worry.
Psychologically a big year for Liverpool.
Yeah, it's a big year, and it's difficult to compete, because we don't have the money to do so, and that's, it'll always make us having to do it on a bit of luck, a lot of ability and luck. When I say lack of injuries and things like that, which obviously wasn't the case last year. But we don't have the depth like the other teams do, and we won't invest in that depth. As far as I can see, the way FSG work is that's what they do. They'll only spend what they get back. A lot of people slate them. I can't say anything bad about FSG. They've done good by me. I've waited 30 years to see Liverpool win the title again, and we they did it for us. Yes, they appointed Klopp, who's world class. It's the first time. Well, I say first time. I think Benitez was probably world class at the time in what he did, but it's just difficult, isn't it? We don't just have that money. It'd be nice, but then on the flip side, it would be. Would I want a kind of? I don't want to upset City fans, but a bit of an artificial club where it's actually just all your money that's bought them the success. And
I don't think you're just upsetting City fans, mate.
But it's you know what I mean. That could have been any club, couldn't they? The Sheiks could have just said, right, there we go. I'll take whoever it is.
Could have been West Ham.
It could have been Tottenham.
Could have been Tottenham. Could have been Tottenham.
Abramovich flew over Tottenham and he didn't fancy it, mate.
Hey, if he flew over Main Road and fancied City, then the Sheik, then something's going wrong there. But I saw a good tweet actually where it was a go between a City fan and a Villa fan, and a Villa fan is saying about a tin pot club who only came into existence 10 years ago. You're leaving a club like Villa, and then the City fans having a pop back and saying, well, he's going to City because he's going to win X, Y, and Z. And then the Villa fans said, going to City and winning trophies is like losing your virginity to a prostitute. That's fantastic.
Harry Kane, take note. Thank you, Dan.
Pep's already said he's not buying an 100 million forward, didn't he say?
He said they didn't have
Pep
no money.
says a lot of things, Dan. Pep says a lot of things.
I think he meant just himself. He doesn't have enough money.
Oh, you were fishing for a new contract. That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Dan, before we go, do you want to plug your Twitter? Where can the listeners, the new ones that we've got that haven't come across you maybe before, find you tweeting about FPL, Liverpool, and anything else?
I don't even know what it is. I think it's
on, James. James has to do it for half the correspondence.
It's FPL_loco Lord.
That's the one. James, only one more correspondent pod to go, and definitely the club that I know least about their squad and their players. So it's going to be a learning experience indeed. Do you want to tell the listeners where we're going to last?
I shall. Brentford, Tom Med, episode 20. And I suspect it's not just you, Suj. I suspect that'll be majority of the listeners as well, because there'll be names from Norwich and Watford that are very familiar. There will be some names that we will talk about from Brentford beyond Ivan Toney. Let's find out if Brian Mbuemo and his mates are interested for FPL as well.
Indeed. If you've enjoyed Correspondent Week, then I hope by now you are subscribed wherever you're listening to the podcast. And if you're not, make sure you do subscribe. You'll get notified as soon as the episode goes live. Other than that, stay safe. Chat for now.
Thanks, Dan. Be nice to each other, everyone. Cue music, please, man, Chuck.